Hello, David. Are you there? All right, we're live. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, depending on where you are reaching us from. Okay. So, welcome, everyone. So, welcome. So, if you are just joining us, please go to the chat box by your right and put down your name and where you are joining us from. Okay. So, David, are you there? Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. So please let's know where you are joining us from, your name, and where you are joining us from. Today promises to be an interesting, exciting day. Okay. Um, yeah. All right. David, are you there? If you are there, please refresh. Hello, Benson from Ikorodu. Welcome, Benson. Uh, is there any other one person in the house? I can see quite a number of us already in the house. So don't be shy. Don't be shy. Tell us where you are joining us from. Tell us your name so that we can acknowledge your presence. Don't be shy. Come on. Your name in the chat box and where you are joining us from. All right, my co-presenter. All right, caller. Welcome. All right, Farouk from Mina. How are you doing? How is Mina today? Yeah. So more and more people are coming in. So let's know where you're joining us from. A presenter, okay, caller from Lagos. Welcome. I'm super excited to join us today. Before I introduce myself, I just want to welcome those who are coming in. So as you come in, please put your name and where you are joining us from in the chat box. The chat box is by your right if you are using a desktop, and it's down if you are using a mobile device. Wow, Joe from Aqua, welcome Joe. Aziz from Akure, welcome Aziz. All right. Okay. More and more people are joining. So um, yeah, David, where are you? I cannot see you here. I'm only seeing myself alone. Uh, all right. Ahmed from Kanu. How is Kanu today, Ahmed? So more and more people are joining us. Um, so we'll just give a few more minutes. Evangeline from Onitsha. Welcome, Evangeline. I'm super excited to be here. Adeolu from Lagos. Welcome, Adeolu. So who else is in the house? Who else is in the house? Who else is in the house? Hello, David. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, good morning.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here today. How about you?
I'm also very excited to be here.
All right. We have a
Sorry
Priye
about
from
the.
Abuja. Welcome, Priye. Yeah, you were saying something, David.
Yeah, initially when I joined, I had issues with my network, so I had to switch network. So that's why
Oh,
I'm
okay. It's
coming
one
here
of those
late.
things, technology.
But
So you
honestly,
just The good thing about it is that you just refresh and join. All right.
Yes, that's
So
that's
before
that's
we launch, our capable and able lecturer is already here, David by name. Before he introduces himself, I still want to welcome those who are joining us from all over the country. So I've acknowledged everybody that are here already. So as more and more people join, I'll be acknowledging them as we go along. So, so I want to turn you over, but before we go, my name is Tayo Steven. Yeah, I'm the CEO for Starry Good Academy, and today is David, my co-presenter. He's a specialist. He's a CR lecturer, so he's going to do justice to a lot of things, as we have advertised before you joining here. So, David, I want to hand over to you while you go ahead. So you can also go ahead and share your screen and then introduce yourself. All right, so the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David, just like Mr. Tayo said. And okay, thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is David, just like Mr. Tayo said. You all know me. I know
You
most
have
of
to
us that
speak
are on the
up, or
Telegram
I'm not hearing you very
platform
well.
familiar with that name now. And today, just like Mr. Tayo said, I don't want us to dwell much on. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Am
Go
I
ahead, please.
audible enough?
Yes, you are audible. So, but if you are hearing him on the chat box, please put it there by typing yes, I can hear you, so that we just know that we're not just the two people that are
Hello,
talking to
sir.
each other here. So we'll make room for internet connection. Yeah, I can hear you very well, David. So you can go on.
Oh, oh.
All right. I
So I
hope
don't want us
you're
to dwell much on what Mr. Tayo has said. Yes, let's uh,
oh, okay.
share my screen.
Um, I still want to welcome those that are joining us. Incidentally, David's left again. His internet is probably having an issue. He's going to join. He's going to. Oh, okay. So if you are just joining us, please put your name and where you are joining us from the right side of the screen. Okay. Welcome back, David.
Yes, sir.
All right. I
So
understand you
I'm
are
trying to share my
breaking.
screen now.
Please make sure your internet is very strong, David. I think you are breaking from the feedback we are getting.
Okay. So how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. So,
Okay.
but we'll keep getting feedback. So if you are
Oh,
hearing him, please indicate in the chat box. Clear enough. Okay, you can go. Thanks,
all
Farouk,
right.
for that feedback.
All right.
Evangeline, please check your internet or just refresh if you are not if you are breaking. Okay, David, you can go. All right, thanks, Evangeline. She says it's better now. Okay, David, please go on. Okay, yeah. Um,
Okay.
all right, thank you, Emmanuel. Emmanuel says very clear now. Thank you for that feedback.
All right. So can you all see my
Okay,
screen? I
David,
just shared my screen.
you
Like,
can go.
okay. So can you all see
I
my
can
screen?
see it, so I believe
Okay.
everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
So
see your
let's write down.
screen, and I believe everyone else are seeing it.
Okay. So let's write down. In this particular ICAN exam webinar, we're looking at corporate reporting, just like we said earlier. Now, corporate reporting that you'll be taking at the professional level. I'm quite sure that that information is not new to you. And like everyone used to feel, like I also used to feel that most of us have been doing accounting related courses, probably during our academics career before we got to professionals, um, even during our skills level, during our now, and you're also doing it professional level.
Yeah, I think you are
So
breaking, David.
I believe a corporate
You are
reporting.
breaking.
Okay. What about now?
Maybe if you have a mic, you want to speak to the mic or something like that. Yeah, you can go on.
All right. Done a lot of accounting related courses. So corporate reporting is not new. And for those of us that I understand that some people are coming in as perhaps through a route, or probably they are using a pathway such that they have not written some courses in the skills level, probably those that came in using some exemptions and all. So you are sitting for corporate reporting for the first time, or probably you're having to do something related to financial reporting. Uh, ICAN for the first time. So you shouldn't be having so much anxiety, or you shouldn't be scared, because corporate reporting, just like financial reporting, also is one course that you can take and pass at first sitting. I won't even deceive you about that. So corporate reporting, you shouldn't be scared, and that is the major reason we are holding this particular webinar, just for us to familiarize ourselves. Um, what we are class is not enough. Let me. I'm not saying we are not giving the best, but what I'm trying to say is that what you are reading, what we are doing in class, and all of that might not be enough to actually guarantee that success. Hence, why we are actually fixing this class, just to deal with some basic things that could give you the edge, that could actually give that edge when you are sitting for the. I'm telling you, um, the one I were able to hold last week on public sector accounting and finance, a lot of students said, "Oh, it's an eye opener for them," and probably they've not heard some things that we're talking about. These are little areas. You see, coming of the exam, or the students shouting, I read for this exam, I did all of that, I wrote this, I'm very sure I'm going to pass." And at the end of the day, the unexpected happens. It could be due to these little things that we want to discuss during the course of this class. That is the things that could have actually caused them that success. And as such, I want us to pay enough attention during the course of this class. Now, what is the objective of this particular webinar? At the end of this webinar, students will understand and appreciate effective time management, viewing, understanding, and analyzing question requirements carefully. Then you will know how to structure answers in order to earn more marks. Now, during the course of this particular webinar, a particular phase of this, we're looking at understanding the question. Understanding the question. Yeah, I know that, oh, you have gone through all the standards. I know you understand complex group accounting. I know that you understand a lot of things when it comes to corporate reports. But how can you be able to understand the question in the exam hall? This is what the examiner is asking you to do. Do not misinterpret what the examiner is asking you to do. It will actually cost you marks. Are we making sense at all? So that is the major reason we'll be looking at, in quotes, these verbs, examiner verbs. We call them examiners verbs. And first of them is analyzing, applying. We have access, assessing, we have calculate, comment. All of these verbs, examiner verbs, or let me call them phrases. Examiners usually use them in the example just to test your knowledge. Do you get? So, and at times, it's not that the reason why students actually fail at times might not be that they have not read. It could actually be they have understood the question wrongly, and as such, they have actually answered the question wrongly. And it's not like they do not know they do not know what area this question has been tested from, or what this question is actually talking about, but probably due to not understanding the question very well and carefully examining that question, they have actually lost such mark that is allocated to the question. So let's deal with each of these verbs, these examiner verbs. We have limited time, and as such, we want to ensure that we maximize it enough, you get, so we can actually achieve the objective of this webinar at the end of the day. So let's move quickly. Now, when you're answering an exam question, it is actually important to consider the question requirements carefully, just to understand exactly what's being asked. Yeah, I understand that there's exam tension. That particular day, I've been there. A lot of people have been there. And, that particular day, we have exam tension. And tensions and feelings are flying around. Everybody is like, okay, what is going to be tested? The syllabus is very wide. It's like an ocean. So you are scared. You are being anxious. When they bring the exam booklet to you, or they tell you, okay, do not open, you'll be like, oh, some people, even someone like me now, used to flip just to peep, just to have a glimpse of what is going to come out. And you see, at that point in time, you cannot change what is about. You cannot change what the examiner has actually asked already. So just be calm, be relaxed, and at times this anxiety also can actually make you misunderstand questions. So you have to calm your nerves, and this is not part of what we are doing, but at times I used to advise students also, you can go into the exam hall with maybe a sachet water, or you can go into the exam hall with a bottle water. Please ensure you tear the label. I prefer going into the exam hall with a bottle water. At that point where you are feeling you are too anxious, you can just take water just to calm your nerves. You can decide to tear. There's a labeling on it, because of the examiners can feel probably you are fitting something so that they don't call you up for examination malpractice. You can tear up the labeling just to show that, oh, it's blank and no. Some people, I'm just telling you what works for me though. So you can decide to tear off the labeling on it just to ensure that you are safe. Now let's move into these verbs quickly. Analyze. That's the first thing we are going to be looking at here. Analyze. I don't know if I'm still on. I just want to be doing that check from time to time so that I'll be sure that I'm still on. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you are still on. You are still on. But if you can hear David clearly,
I don't
please
want
indicate in the chat box. Please indicate and say,
comments
yes, I can
exactly.
hear you. Yes, so I see that a number of people have also joined us now. So if you are just joined us, please just indicate your name and your name and where you are joining us from in the chat box here, so that we can acknowledge your presence. All right, thank you very much, Evangeline. Thank you, Farouk. Thank you, Sokari. Okay, yeah, Yahaya. Thank you so much. Okay, go ahead. Thank you so much. Thanks for that feedback. So, David, you can please go on.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now let's talk about analyze. The examiner wants you to, it entails breaking the question into separate parts. Ensure you discuss and interpret each part, and lastly, relate the exam question to the scenario provided. Please, whenever you are giving an exam requirement and the examiner tells you to analyze, he doesn't just want you to just do something on the surface. He wants you to break the question into separate parts. He wants you to discuss. He wants you to interpret the question. He wants you to relate the exam question to the scenario that was provided. So you don't give answers that are disjoint from the scenario that has been provided to you. Do you get? So analyze. Analyze is one kind of requirement that I feel you need to understand the scenario first of all. An examiner cannot tell you to analyze, give you an examination requirement that deals with analyzing without providing you with something that you need to base that your analysis on. Are we making any sense? And this is going to be the scenario. Probably you call it case. You get. So that is why I've actually prepared an exam type question here for us to look at it together. Now let's consider this question together. Manipulation of reporting entities, books, and records have been termed in many quarters as creative accounting and window dressing. The management of Wastage PLC requires clarification of these two concepts. Now, look at this case here. It is this particular, let me call it, this particular case is talking about manipulation of reporting entities, books, and records. And they have been able to give you two concepts here, talking about creative accounting and window dressing. Now, the requirement is what I believe we'll be considering. I think Mr. Dayo will be taking us through some of this in our next phase that we're looking after this area. When you are giving an exam question, you should be able to first consider the requirement before you go and read the case, so that you know what you are heading towards. Now, when you read the case, it's going to make sense to you. Do you get? You have limited time in the example, so don't bother yourself reading through the case or the scenario. When you are giving exam the questions, move to the requirement immediately. Now, consider what you are being required to do. Now, when you are done with the requirements, go to the case, so that when you are reading the case is going to make sense to you. You'll be picking out what you need to note down so that you can answer the requirement. I don't know if I'm making enough sense at all. Now, the requirement here says analyze 3 possible reasons for creative accounting and window dressing. Advise the management on 5 possible preventive measures of creative accounting. Now, this requirement is telling you to analyze 3 possible reasons. Now, you have to talk about the first reason why entities go for creative accounting and window dressing. Are we together? Now, you also have to advise them on possible preventive measures. Now, when you are doing your analysis, don't forget to break it down in separate aspects. Don't just talk at length. You are doing analysis for both creative accounting and window dressing. Are we making any sense at all? So that is why we have been told that it entails you breaking the question into separate parts. Now, question number 1. This particular webinar, I won't be answering the question because we have limited time. What we are just doing here, you know the answers to these questions. We have done some of these things in class, and we are still going to do some of it in class. Do you get? So we are not going to be dwelling much on some of these things. Do you get? So you are going to be breaking down each of these areas. Do you get? And analyze it. Then you are good to go. Are we together? Now, let's move to. I don't want to dwell much on that. Let's move to other aspects.
No. Before you even go ahead, I want to emphasize. To the student that before you go ahead. Sorry, David.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, yes, David. Can you go back one more slide? Just one more slide backward. The one you just finished now.
Okay.
Now, I want to point our attention to the fact that about analyzing, that these questions are 2 in 1.
Okay.
The question say analyze 3 possible reasons. Then it says and advise management. So once you finish your analysis, the 3 possible reasons, then you now go ahead and do your advice to management based on the 5 possible preventive measure of creating accounting. If you only analyze it and you don't give the advice, then you'll be missing out here. So make sure you read the requirements very clearly, and because this is 2 in 1 now. All right, I just wanted to point that out. Please go on, David.
Exactly. Thank you, sir, for that. And I actually just remembered something also. Thank you, sir, for calling my attention to it. Now, if you are told to advise in the example, please, if they tell you to advise the management, note that you are going to be advising in form of a report. It's called an internal report. So at this level of yours, I advise you to go and learn how to write a report, how to write a memo, because you're already the professional level and you'll be doing all of this case study. So you should understand when you are writing to the management, it's an internal report, and when you are writing to probably an external body, it is going to be an external report. So each of these, you should understand how to write a report at this level, and also how to write a memo, because you will discover that most of the things you'll be doing in your professional level will be reporting, because of we are in the 21st century, and most of all these calculations that we normally do, they are accounting softwares, they are packages that can do it. Now, what is the role of the accountant now? Most of these software cannot analyze, they cannot report. That's where human knowledge comes into play. You are a professional. So this is where your own role is going to come into play. And it is the reporting function that the accountant comes into play. You see that all of these figures, you just input them, it derives your trial balance, it derives everything that you need. All of this accounting software. Now, this is where your own part comes, reporting. And that's why you see in the past exams, let's say 4 or 5 years now, most of the questions in ICAN has been write a report, advice on this. So when you are told to advise the management, please note that it is an internal report that you are writing. So please go and practice on how to write a report. I can't emphasize it enough. Go and practice on how to write a report. You are at the professional level. But if it happened that I was talking to the students in the skills level, I wouldn't stress this much. But in the professional level, it is very important. For those of you that are even writing case study, so please don't joke with this area. Now let's move on. Apply. Apply. This entails putting into action the standard requirements in a given scenario. So you are going to relate the standard you have used with the facts of the case. Now, this apply is very simple. I'm very sure students will hardly misunderstand this area when an examiner tells you to apply. Now, that application is based on something. Of course, he has told you, he has given you a case, he has painted a scenario to you. Now, at times, the examiner might not tell you that this is what you are applying. And don't worry, when we get to treating case study questions in corporate reporting, you will understand this much better. So when he tells you to apply, he knows that there is a particular basis on which your application needs to be done. Do you get? If he tells you, okay, let's look at this question. In business combination, this is a exam type question. In business combination, the consideration given by the acquirer to gain control of the acquiree can be in different forms, including deferred and contingent consideration. While deferred and contingent consideration, two differ in nature and form. Now, the requirement says that apply the relevant standard to briefly distinguish between deferred and contingent consideration. Now, what is the you can see now what I was talking about now. The examiner has not told you what you'll be applying. He just told you that you should apply the relevant standard. Trust me, if you do not understand the relevant standard that is necessary for you to distinguish between deferred and contingent consideration, you cannot do anything here. And that is why we used to advise you that you should exhaust yourself on the syllabus. Please, we have the blueprint,
David.
the success blueprint.
So sorry,
and
it's like
you are going to be going through
is
all
cracking.
the possible areas that questions will be coming out from. Are we together?
Sorry,
So
David,
exhaust yourself on the
cracking.
syllabus, because if you don't know where the examiner will be coming out, the relevant standard. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
What
you're
about now?
cracking. So please check your internet.
All right.
All right, good now. Good.
All
Good.
right.
Yes, I can see that it's fine from here. Go ahead, please.
So here you are applying all standards that are necessary in the preparation of a business combination. You know that's IFRS 3. Are we together? So you should be able to distinguish between deferred and contingent consideration. It has been defined there. So that's just what they want you to do. They want you to apply what has been defined in IFRS 3 just to distinguish between deferred and contingent consideration. Let's move on quickly. So we have assess. Assess. Assess as a examination requirement entails determining the strength, weaknesses, importance, significance to the given question. So when an examiner tells you to assess, assess is a broad requirement. You know, what are you assessing? Are we together? You are assessing. Now, this is what you are assessing. You should, when the examiner tells you to assess in a particular question, he wants you to talk about the strength, the weaknesses, the importance or significance of that particular concept that is talking about there to be given question. Now look at this particular question, exam type question here. Under the conceptual framework, you have been exposed to various concepts and conventions. You are required to assess the impact of substance over form in a lease contract. Now, I'm not solving the question, but when it tells you, in this case now, talking about the impact of substance over form in a lease contract, you should understand that this question is coming from IFRS 16. Then, in consonance with the concept, talking about conceptual framework, we have considered various concepts and conventions. One of them is substance over form. The real meaning of that particular concept is the real word. We are accountants and they didn't want to involve the lawyers. The real pronunciation of this standard is substance over legal form. Are we together? But because of I think those that actually they don't want to involve our legal people into this, so that is why they just decided to remain silent over that legal. So that's why they just said substance over form. They didn't include the legal part of it. So they want that lease IFRS 16 is based on substance over legal form because we are looking at the substance, the economic reality of a transaction over the legal form. That's why you have been told to capitalize an asset, even though it does not belong to the owner. That the person that you are capitalizing is in the financial statement. It does not, looking at it legally, there's no transfer of ownership. You get there's no legal transfer, but because of the economic reality of it is that he is the one owning it, and in the real sense of it is that particular entity is using that particular asset to generate economic benefits. That is why we are capitalizing. But if we look at the legal form of it, you are not to capitalize. That is the essence of substance over legal form. Now, talking about assessing in this case here, you have to talk about the impact, the weakness, the importance, the significance of substance over form in a lease contract. You have to talk about the standard itself, the importance of that standard. You have to talk about right of use asset. We no longer use IAS 17 before, as it used to be leases. It's now IFRS 16. I think we have considered this in the class, so I don't want to dwell much on it. So I hope I've been able to help you understand assess as an exam requirement. Now let's move on. Calculate. We are not new to this actually. If the examiner tells you to calculate, he wants you to compute using mathematical processes of determining the value of an outcome. Now, this is the question here. Let's ready to solve it for you. Let's just read through it. This is the exam question here. A cash generating unit holds the following assets: goodwill of 160 million, patents of 320 million, property, that's PPE, of 480 million. An annual impairment review is required as the cash generating unit contains goodwill. The most recent review assesses its recoverable value or recoverable amount to be 720 million. An impairment loss of 240 million has been incurred and has been recognized in profit or loss. Show how the value of the asset held by the cash generating unit and change after the impairment test based on the information provided above. You are required to calculate how the value of the asset held by the cash generating unit will change after the impairment test based on the information provided above. We are just required to calculate how we are going to allocate the impairment loss in a cash generating. You know what a cash generating is? More identifiable group of assets that generate cash flow that are largely independent of other classes of assets or other groups of assets. So you know what a cash generating unit is talking about. So we have actually dealt with this in the class, so you can go ahead and calculate.
Sorry,
now
your network is
talk about
breaking again.
When the examiner tells you to
David,
comment,
sorry for interrupting you.
Including an explanation,
Christiana
illustration,
that
or criticism in your
Hello, David. Hello, David.
answer. Now, if you are telling you to
Hello, David. Can you hear me? Hello, David. Hello, David. The students are giving feedback here, and I'm also hearing that.
on a
Hello, can you hear me?
particular question. It's also
Hello,
a
David.
broad requirement. Do you get? Let me refresh.
Hello.
Okay.
No, we are not getting you. Oh, oh, okay. You are refreshing. That's good.
Yes, I can hear you.
So let's wait for him to be back.
You.
Okay. You have refreshed, I
Yes, sir.
believe.
Okay. I think
Okay.
Christiana Akinola is saying, yes, sir.
Adeolu wants you to. Okay.
Yeah.
You have refreshed. So let's wait for him to be back. All right. So while we're waiting for him to be back, this is technology. The internet also messes up, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Ayo Obami. So he's coming to join back again. His internet is acting up. One of those few things with technology. All right. So while we're waiting for him to come back, if you are just joining us, please indicate your name and your where you are joining us from in the comment section so that we can acknowledge your presence and welcome you. All right, welcome back, David. Um,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me clearly? Oh, all right, that's
Yes, I
fine.
can hear
So
you,
one
sir.
of those stuff, Abi, technology.
Honestly.
Okay, I think you are better now. So you can
Oh,
go on and
yeah.
share your screen and continue
Let
the
me share my
class.
screen again. Okay.
All right.
All right. So, are we good to go?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you. So,
So,
all right,
okay, sir.
you are good to go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Now, talking about comments as a examination requirement, it entails including an explanation, illustration, or criticism in your answer. An examiner telling you that, okay, comment on your findings. You should know that you are going to be explaining, you are going to be giving an illustration that, okay, this is what I was trying to talk about with my comment. Then you have to talk about criticism. Another thing, whenever you are told to comment, it is also very important for you. It is also very, very important for you to talk about if you have raised some suggestions or you've raised some criticism in your comment, then it is necessary for you to make recommendation. So it is necessary for you to make recommendation. And if you are going to be criticizing a question, please ensure that you are criticizing in a professional way. Imagine an examiner telling you that you should criticize. Don't say there's something called amongst the code of conduct for IFAC code of conduct for accountants or probably students of the institute. You are required to exercise professional judgment during the course of your of executing or working for your client. And part of exercising professional judgment means that you should show professional skepticism. It's not good for you. Okay, probably you see that there's an ethical case. Yeah, probably a case of aggressive earnings management or probably window dressing or creative accounting. So yeah, it is necessary for you not to say it. You should lie, not to say it the way it is in the case. Tell them that okay, if you have actually seen it there that okay, something has happened, probably there's an undue influence or there's a self-interest threat in the question. Now tell the examiner that from the case it appears or it looks as if that there's an unethical uh, behavior there. Do you get? Or probably there's a threat to objectivity there. Don't say okay. Say it's like okay. The person have not done the right thing. Just say you. That's what they call professional skepticism. You try and make it look professional. You get? You don't have to be absolute about your answers. You get? So just say it looks as if it may seem as though. Do you get? Those are the ways it makes you look organized and more professional. Get in answering your question. Now let's go to the next examiner verb here. Compare. Compare. Now, for a examination requirements, talking about compare, this entails explaining the similarities and differences in that particular case. Look at this examination question here now. Financial ratios are important tools in making decisions to management, and you are being required to state the distinctions between profitability and liquidity ratio. You are comparing profitability, you are comparing liquidity ratio. You get? So that is what we mean by comparing. And when you are comparing, you can compare using definitions. You define profitability ratio, right? You define liquidity ratio also. You can compare using the advantages of profitability ratio, compare the advantages of liquidity ratio also. Talk about the way it is being calculated, profitability ratio. Now, when you are comparing, you are having a kind of, you are the one structuring the way you want to answer the question when it comes to compare. And it can actually give you another edge also. Maybe you are going to earn more marks. So when you are told to compare from different angles. If I say, okay, compare this particular exam, maybe case study exam with corporate reporting exam, you may want to compare using, how many hours they are writing the exam for, how many hours they are writing this particular exam also for, the mode of preparation, the syllabus. So that's what I'm telling you. It is left to you, the area you want to compare for, but ensure you are doing distinctions between the two. Like I spoke about profitability, defining definition, define the liquidity ratios also, how it's being calculated. You can compare using the formula from all of the profitability ratios. Under profitability ratio, we have ROCE, we have return on capital employed, right? Under liquidity ratio, we have current ratios, we have several other ratios, we have acid test ratios under liquidity ratios. So compare using some of, I don't know, you understand what I'm talking about. So that is what we are doing. We are making a distinction, explaining similarities and differences. Let's move to the next examiner verb. Now, talking about conclusion. Now, this is another exam requirement. It entails ending your answer well in a case scenario. When the examiner tells you to conclude, talking about conclusion, it is necessary for you conclude. Most of the times, when the examiner tells you to conclude, it's usually ending your case. You get? A case must have been given to you, or probably a scenario has been given to you. And now, for you to conclude, of course, you must have done analysis. You get? You must have done analysis. You must have. Those of you writing case study, you are familiar with this. You have to end your report very well. You have to conclude your conclusion. In your conclusion, you are going to have a summary of all what you have spoken about, and you are going to make a recommendation. They are two in one. Do you get? It also entails ending your answer well. Please, whenever you are told to conclude, always summarize all what you have been doing and also recommend. Make a recommendation. It is very paramount. Make recommendation. And now, when you are concluding, do not in a typical example of this is when you are writing your executive summary. Do you get? Executive summary is for top echelons that cannot sit down to read through the report because of its long. It's just you are trying to give them a summarized, a concise, and a brief report that they can finish reading. They have a lot of things on their table, so they might not have time to read through your 40 pages report or 50 pages report. So in 2 pages or 1 page, you can just quickly tell them what the whole report is talking about. So yeah, you don't need to include what you have not spoken about in your report. Do you get? Don't bring in new things that you have not spoken about in your report. Base it on what you have spoken about in your report. Now, criticize. That's another examination requirement. And it entails analyzing a situation to identify all the weaknesses, problems that explain. Please, and that very important thing here is that do not explain the situation. They've given you see, most of the time, students think they are wise. Examiners used to laugh. I'm talking to you based on me talking to some examiners that have a lengthy years of experience marking, like ICAN examiners, and they've actually said a lot of things. You've seen examiners comment. Students used to make vain repetition. Do you get? They've given you because of you want to, at times students think it's the number of pages that you write that will make you earn marks. These are just myths to me because of I don't think it's the number of pages that you write. You see, students going to collect extra sheets. All of this do not matter. It is what you have written. You get? So don't say because of this person has gone to collect extra sheet. Oh, he's doing really well. You know, some students will do something. They will repeat what the examiner said in the scenario. Do you get? They will not, just to earn more space. They can, okay, we have written more. It's all of these are just might to me. Do you get? So please ensure that you do not make repetition of the situation. Do not explain the situation again. They know what is in the scenario. What they just want you to do is to criticize. And I've told you, always be skeptical. Exercise professional skepticism when you are criticizing. That's a doubting mind that you get. Don't be absolute enough that, okay, they have done the wrong thing. You get? Don't say it. It may use phrases like it may seem as though, it looks, it appears, or you can say based on the scenario given, it appears that they have done so. You are criticizing in a professional way, not like, oh, they have done it wrong, oh, they did not do this thing correctly, oh. You said that you are doing it. Are you sure that they have done it wrong? So exercise this doubt. Do you get? That's what is called professional skepticism. Those of you writing case, so this is very, very good for you to note. Now let's talk about something else here. Please, whenever you criticize, always recommend. Please, even if the examiner does not tell you to recommend, it's good for you to recommend that this is, don't just let it be concise and brief. Because of how would you criticize when you cannot recommend? It's of no use. You see a lot of people criticizing you. Imagine someone comes to criticize you and does not tell you the way out of that particular thing that they criticize you on. It's just like they don't know what they are saying. So that's why I always say it's good to recommend, even if the examiner does not tell you. You might just, the examiner will need to make the examiner understand that this person knows what he or she is talking about. Do you get? So define examination requirement. It entails giving meaning to a question. Ensure to always keep it. You know, whenever they tell you to define, please define. Do not go ahead to be telling them, okay, the benefits of what you have defined, the features of what you have defined. The examiner told you to define. He knows what he's saying. Look at these requirements here now. Define right of use assets in IFRS 16. Define right of use assets in IFRS 16. Are we making any sense at all? Please be giving recommendations so that I can be sure that, oh, I'm still doing the right thing. So look at now, define right of use assets in IFRS 16. Define it. Do you get? Don't start parabolating around or something. Don't start saying, oh, this and that, or talking about the features of right of use, or strictly define and move on. Are we together? So please don't
Yes,
start
thank you very much.
now.
Just a moment,
Let's,
David. Thank you, David. Thank
yes,
you, David. Thank you. All right, just a moment. If you are just joining us, I want to acknowledge your presence. Kamoridin, thank you for joining us from Oshogbo. Hi, Oshogbo. And who else have joined us that we have not acknowledged? If I have not seen where you are joining us from. Johnson from Lagos, thank you very much for joining us. All right, so let's get feedback from you. If you are hearing us clear and you are carrying along with the webinar, so please give us a reaction in the comment box. We'll come back and check it out. So let us know if you are still with us, just to be sure that we are not just the only two talking to ourselves here. So give us a reaction there. And if you have any question specifically to corporate reporting, please leave it in the comment box. We'll try our best to answer them before we finish this webinar. So, okay, yeah, thanks for joining us from Zaria. Okay, thank you, Evangeline, for your feedback. That's very good. Okay, so if you have any questions specifically relating to corporate reporting, please leave it there. If you have done the exam before and some things are still not clear to you, please leave it in the comment box. We'll try and give you the feedback we have gotten from the examiner. All right, thanks so much. Okay, David, back to you.
Okay, sir. So I was talking about describe as a examination requirement. It entails you see, describe is more broader than define altogether. So what most students normally do is when they tell you to define, they go ahead and go and be describing. Do you get? So when they tell you to describe, I see it like the examiner giving you a broad plate for you to like write on. So it entails giving a detailed, can you see, detailed account of qualities or features. Now, under describe, you can define, you can talk about the features of all what they've told you in that definition. But if they tell you to define, please restrict it to define it. Don't move and say you want to start talking about. If you say you want to be talking about importance, features, and some other things, you already described it. How together. So let's move on. So look at this exam type question here. Describe the subsequent measurement of financial instrument according to IFRS 9. Yeah, you know, the IASB were able to come up with a particular standard, that is IFRS 9. You know, it replaced IAS 32 and IAS 39 thereabout. So please, IFRS 9 and IFRS 7 disclosure requirements. Disclosures, talking about disclosures. Then we have IFRS 9 talking about subsequent measurement and initial recognition and all of that. So you are told to describe subsequent measurement of financial instruments. You should explore every area, explore every angle. Are we making any sense at all? Explore every angle when it comes to you describing. You have to define, in fact, you have to define financial instruments, instrument that gives rise to both the financial asset or financial liability or equity of a particular entity. Are we together? So please define financial instruments. Now, when I tell you to describe, talk about measurement. How, you know, subsequent measurement is another very important aspect of IFRS 9. I don't want to answer the question because we don't have much time to answer the question. When we are doing our revision class prior to the examination, we'll be talking about that's where I'll be answering questions. But here, we just want you to familiarize yourself with some of these how to understand questions. Are we making any sense? So describe is broader than define. So let's move to another area talking about discourse. Now, when it comes to discourse is even much more broader than describe and define. You see, when it comes to discourse, everything you know under that particular area, you don't have to restrict it to just the definition, the qualities, the features. Discourse, when it comes to discourse, in fact, tell them everything you know, everything you have read in that area. But please be conscious of the mark that has been allocated to that particular question. If they tell you to discuss for 15 marks, please do not start to write about 4 pages or 5 pages. Do you get? Discuss. If they tell you to discuss for 5 marks, don't start to write 3 pages, because of no matter the number of pages you write, do you get? It is still 5 marks that you can earn. So I think we are still going to talk about that, maximizing your marks in the example, how to use time effectively, effective time management also, so that you know when you see the mark allocated a particular question, you know the number of minutes or time to be spent on that particular question. Are we making sense at all? So when it comes to discourse, it entails examining in detail, using arguments about the pros and cons of an issue. So it is very broad. Everything you know. Look at this exam question here. Discuss the conceptual basis for the recognition of deferred taxation using the temporary difference approach in accordance with IAS 12. You know, IAS 12 talks about income tax. Preparing for corporate reporting. You know that all standards are examinable here now. You are not only drinking milk just like when you're in FR. Prepare to answer questions from all standards that are examinable at this level. So don't say you are not told. IAS 12 is another important standard you need to. In fact, if it does not come out as a standalone question, it can come out under group. Are we together? So complex group, they can decide to test every or any standard under complex group. If you don't understand the treatment of a particular standard, you will not know what to do with it when you are dealing with group account. And you know it could actually be detrimental, because you know your question number 1 is coming from group account. So please be conscious of that. So let's move on. Evaluate. Now this is another area. Evaluate. When they talk about evaluation, this is another area that students used to mix up, and when it comes to evaluate, it ends against, and ensure you mention evidence to support your evaluation. You know what? The examiner cannot tell you to evaluate something without a particular basis for the evaluation. What are the basis of your evaluation? If you are told to evaluate something, most of the time they will give you a case to evaluate. Probably know that what this particular client has done is wrong. So they'll tell you to evaluate and discuss, evaluate and probably even discuss. They can even tell you to discuss in that case. Or if they want to be fair enough for you, they can just tell you to evaluate the ethical circumstances surrounding that particular case, or evaluate that particular concept. Do you get? Now, if they are telling you to evaluate it, the first thing for you to do is to think, okay, what is the basis for my evaluation? Because of any evaluation that you're going to be doing, you'll be supporting it with evidence. And where are these evidences coming from? Those evidences are actually coming from, those evidences that you are going to use to support your evaluation will be coming from those facts, those principles, those standards that you have used to evaluate the scenario. Are we together? So first of all, if they tell you to evaluate, like where we spoke about IFRS 9, and they tell you to evaluate how a particular entity has actually accounted for its financial instrument, you should know that the basis of the evaluation is coming from the recognition criteria, you get measurement criteria, or probably the recognition criteria with references to IFRS 9, you get, or probably disclosure with references to IFRS 7. Are we making any sense at all? So those are your evidences that you will use to support the evaluation. So are we making any sense at all? Now let's go to explain. Explain. When they tell you to explain, it entails making the answer clear, supporting it with enough details that are relevant, coincide, and explanatory. If they tell you to explain, don't go and be discussing. Do you get? Tell you, okay, explain this particular concept. When they tell you to explain, be concise enough. Just explain and leave there. Don't start to talk about the features. Don't start to talk. You see, explain and define are kind of similar. You see, examiners even use them interchangeably. At times, they want you to define a concept. They can tell you now. The same way I'd say they are kind of similar is, but explain is much more broader than define. You don't just define when it comes to explain. You get? When it comes to explain, just talk about little things, some details, but don't be too, would I say, be chatty, or don't be too lengthy with what you are doing. You have to be concise enough. Are we together? It is not talking about describing, it's not talking about discussing. If they just want you to explain, if they are telling you to explain, you can just do that within 4 to 5 lines. And please, it is still depending on the mark allocated to explaining. Are we making any sense? So look at this particular question here. It says, ethical codes are relevant in all professions, including the accounting profession. You are required to explain why the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria has ethical codes. Can you see? Maybe you can talk about the reason why, one of the reasons they want uniformity, they want to ensure that the profession is being regulated, liability. Do you get? There's something called expectation gaps. All of this is the reason why there are ethical codes in place, so that you will know what to do at the right time. Do you get? Just to ensure that the professionals of the institute are being protected. So just explain. Again, you don't need to be too lengthy with it. I will get together. So talking about lists as another examiner verb, it entails assigning several ideas, aspects, events, things, and qualities. Please do not explain the situation. They've told you to list. Just list. In fact, you can use bullet points. Do you get? List. Don't. In fact, I used to see list and state as something that looks similar. We still talk about states, but when you talk about list, just list it. They tell you, okay, list the qualities, or they can tell you list uh, 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 some of the. I'm trying to look at. Okay, I think I have an example on that list. Okay? I don't think it's there. So they tell you, okay, list the accounting concept. When you list them, just list it. Okay, substance over legal, substance over form, prudency, and all of that, consistency. Just list it and move on. You can use bullet points. You can use Romans numeral and all. Now, talking about outline, this entails explaining the highlighted points stated. Outline is more broader than listing. When they tell you to outline, you have to, when you first list, then you can now briefly talk about what it's not more than maybe 2 lines or 3 lines. When you say it's your outline, just outline and leave there. You look at this exam question now. A company's director are appointed by the shareholders to manage the company. As such, there is an agent principal relationship. You are required to outline 5 circumstances that agency conflicts might exist. See, at this level, don't think questions like this cannot come out in corporate reporting. This question can also be looked at from the angle of ethics. So no matter the course you are treating in ICAN, ethical questions can always come in. Don't say, oh, we are not taught in class. No, ethics is another core aspect of you becoming a chartered accountant. You have to pass the ethical aspect of it. Are we together? Job experience is part of it. Ethics is there. Then passing exams is also there. Do you get? So please, this question can also be seen. And you know that, of course, you have done it. Moral hazard, earnings retention, and all of that. So please, you have done that in your corporate strategic governance and ethics. And trust me, I know students used to like ethics aspect because of me too. I've gone through that area. You know, ethics aspect is usually learned to consider. So please don't shy away from it. I just have to check that. Okay. This is another aspect also. Prepare. You know, prepare entails setting out a response using an appropriate format that suits the situation and this is usually found in case studies. They can tell you to prepare a report. Do you get? So I've told you how to go about this. It's usually in case study. They tell you maybe prepare a report to be submitted to so. Do you get? So that is strictly on that. Now recommend. I've spoken about this also before. It entails giving advice. I told you whenever you criticize, you have to recommend. Now look at this exam type question. Ajiboye entered into a contract with Tulip to supply a maintenance of the telephone and doesn't understand how this transaction should be treated. Now, the requirement says you should state the relevant IFRS that is relevant here and advise Ajiboye on the 5-step model on the treatment of the revenue from the transaction. Now, Ajiboye actually entered into a contract with Tulip, just to supply telephone item alongside internet facilities. Now, the relevant accounting IFRS here is IFRS 15, revenue from contract with contract with customers rather. I used to tell students whenever I treat this standard in class that you are very lucky because in my days we used to consider IAS 18, we used to consider IAS 11. Construction contracts, students usually run away from it. That was when we used to use risk and reward. In the exam, or people used to pray for construction contract not to come out. But they have actually, IASB are very, they are such a darling, they want to scrap this standard and bring in IFRS 15, and which has replaced this. So, you have to know the 5-step model, identifying contract customers, knowing the transaction price, all of this. So you have to being able to identify performance, identify the standalone price. So you allocate the standalone price you also identify revenue when performance obligation is being satisfied. You can satisfy performance obligation at a point in time, you can satisfy it over time. So all of this, we have done it in class, so you should not be new to you. I'm not answering the question. I'm just trying to tell you how to go with it. So you need to advise. That's what we are doing here. So advice. So let's move on quickly. Now, states.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, I need to. I'm the timekeeper here. So incidentally, I know we're just firing on. We'll soon round up. We've spent almost about an hour already. So we should be rounding up in the next couple of minutes. We don't expect to go beyond the next 30 minutes. Of course, we'll try to make this replay available so that you can always go through it over and over. And if you have a video lecture, we'll also add this into it so that you can download this and go through it at your own time. All right. So I just want to chip that in. So the time is almost up. So just to sound a bell of notice there. Okay, go ahead, David.
Exactly. Exactly. The timekeeper. Okay. Thank you, sir. So I've spoken about the
Yeah, I think you are cracking again. You are cracking. So you need to do the magic.
don't
Those things you
have
used to do that stop it
to,
from cracking. So you are breaking. You are breaking.
you don't have to go through it
So
again
just
based
as
on
a
time.
feedback,
Then
you
we
need
have
to do the magic.
summarize. Summarize is
So you
just
need
like
to do the
conclude.
magic.
You summarize all what you have been doing. Are we together? So that's what we are talking about. And this entails giving a brief, condensed conclusion.
Okay, guys. It's going to refresh his system because the system is cracking. So while we're waiting for him to come back, so let's get your reaction in the comment section. The presentation, no questions so far. So if you are still here with me, quite a lot of us are still in the class. So let me know your reaction while we're waiting for David to refresh his internet. Um, Sahid or Saad, you say, hello everyone, ST here. Yeah, you're welcome. So let's get your reaction. Are you going along with the class? Are you enjoying the class? Um, let's know that I'm not the only one that is enjoying the class. All right. And if you are just joining us, let's know where you join us from, your name and where you are joining us from so that I can acknowledge your presence. Right. Okay. All right. Welcome back, David.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I think
Let
you are
me
clearer now. You can share your
share.
screen and start running.
Oh, all right. So I was talking about summarizing. So I think we're able to do justice to that. It was giving a quick condensed conclusion.
Yeah.
Avoid unnecessary details. Uh, just that's just summary. You don't even need to include things you have spoken, things that you have not spoken about during the course of analyzing the case. Don't introduce new points. Talk about summarizing on the points that you have. Now let's move to how to crack uh, case study questions. So let's look at. We are going to be looking at a particular principle called IRAC principle. It's an acronym that depicts I for identification, R for rules, for analysis, then C for conclusion. Now,
Okay. Your internet is acting up again.
the let's look at this
You need
exam
to
type
check
question
it.
here. The objective of IS 33. Okay, due to our time, I don't want to.
Oh, it's going on well now.
I'll just tell you how to use this analyze case study question.
Okay, so your internet. Oh, thank you, fine. This is very humbling. If I say I've attended other tutorial classes, but I can say this is just the best. Thank you very much for that commendation, Adiola. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi. That's very, very um, humbling to hear. Thank you so much. So, Kari, thank you so much. So it's very helpful. Thank you. We're going to go into the time management part now. Once David comes back to finish what he's doing. Right. Thank you so much. Those feedback are quite useful to us. All right. So waiting for him to wrap up, and then we'll go into the easy mark. How do you get easy mark in the exam? How do you um, how do you manage your time? We're going to go into that session in the next few minutes, as David is about rounding up now, while he works on his internet. So it's coming up now. Uh, so thank you. So please give us your feedback in the comment section. Tell us if you have enjoyed the session. Yeah, tell us you've enjoyed it. Give us some feedback. And if you have not enjoyed it also, yeah, go ahead, tell us also. All right. Yeah, so this is my first time and I really appreciate your efforts. Thank you very, very much. So we actually want as much people as possible to pass the exam. So when I'm starting my own session, I'm going to tell you some of the things the examiner told me, and I'm also going to tell you some of the things my lecturer told me when I was doing the exam so many years ago, more than 2 decades ago, when I was doing the exam. So, and those things are still relevant for today. They are never changing um, strategy that you use in the exam. Um, all right. So while we're still waiting for David, thank you, Farouk. He said it's wholesome. Thank you very much for that. All right. Yeah, David, we are waiting for you. You might still need to refresh in case you are hearing me. You have gone off the screen, and we'll just wait for another 1 minute for him to round up. Adiola, we need full meaning of uh, Iraq, right? Okay, David will come and respond to that. Emmanuel, thank you so much for this eye opener session. Good to hear that we will have access to both the slide and the recording. Yeah, we'll have access to them. Wherever the goal is for you to pass. We want you to pass the exam. Benson, thank you very much. Saibu is doing amazing well. Please keep up the good work. Thank you very, very much. This webinar is an eye opener and insightful. That's from Aziz. Thank you. Right, David, welcome back again.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, please,
Let's
how
all
do we
see.
get the
Yeah.
slide? Yeah, you get the slide if you go back after this webinar runs out. If you go back and join again, right? Just come back to the link, and then you'll be able to do that. Also, we'll send it to everybody who have registered, right? And if you have a video lecture, we're going to download it and put it inside so that you can download. We're going to send you the link to download it. All right, that's fine. All right, welcome back, David. So you
Yes,
have,
sir.
I think, 5 minutes more to wrap up so that
Exactly.
we can go to the next session. Okay, over to you, please. So
Thank
please
you,
keep
sir.
your comments coming. I
So
will
can you
be
see my
reading
screen?
them as we go along. All right. Yes, I can
So can
see
you see
your
my screen?
screen. Your
I'm
screen is
sharing.
coming up.
Okay. Okay. So no
Yes, I
problem.
can see your screen very well. Please
So I
go
was
ahead. Five
talking
minutes
about
more.
identification. Okay. Okay. So I was talking about identification. So first of all, you need to understand where that particular case is coming from. Of course, the examiner cannot tell something outside of the syllabus. So that is why you need to understand that. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from impairment? Is it like in this case now, this particular case study is coming from impairment? And can you see the requirement is to advise the management of SWAP PLC the significance of earnings? Oh, sorry, it's coming from earnings per share IAS 33. Earnings per share, not IAS 36. IAS 36 is impairment. So earnings per share, and they've actually told us to talk about advise the management on the significance of earnings per share, the shortcomings of earnings per share. You know, it can also be a financial ratio too. So you have been able to identify that this question is being tested from earnings per share. The next thing R says rule. Now the next thing for you to do here is that we have treated those particular rules in class, talking about IES 33. They have spoken about the recognition criteria. They have spoken about how to calculate. So those are the principles, those are the rules for you to advise them on. So we can now advise the management of SWA PLC on the application of IAS 33. We can now talk about the significance. We can also talk about the downside of it. Now, when you can using those particular rules, and that will form the basis for your analysis. So by analysis, you are expected to analyze the case study on some facts and principles that are similar in the case or in the area of the scenario. Now, please always make remember to lay emphasis on the established facts and principles. Those principles, those facts and principles are what we have derived from the rules. That's the R aspect. Do you get? So you need to understand, first thing is to identify where the case is being tested from, understand the rules. Those are the facts that you will use to analyze the case. Do you get? What is IAS 33 talking about in terms of the recognition, the significance of IAS 33, the calculation of IAS 33, of earnings per share. Do you get? So those are the things that you need to consider. So that's what's going to form your basis. So please always make emphasis whenever. That's why to advise students whenever you are talking about in a case, you're always you're analyzing a case. Tell them that you are not the one doing it from your head. What you are doing, you are quoting at that relevant standard, IAS 33, as per IAS 33, as per IAS 33. You can quote it several times in your analysis, just to make sure that that's what you are talking. And now, conclusion. Here, you are expected to conclude your judgments based on established facts and principles that you have identified. We have spoken about conclusion earlier. So your conclusion should entail the underlying assumptions and an evaluation of the macro economy now or of that particular case may be. Do you get? That is the IAS 33, talking about IAS 33. So talk about your assumptions and your evaluations. And don't forget that when you are concluding, you are summarizing and you are also recommending. Are we making any sense? So that's that with respect to that area. So we'll be moving to effective time management, and I'll be passing it over to Mr. Tayo. Are you there, sir?
All right, let's give a hand of applause for David. I'm here, quite excited. Please, let's appreciate him in the comment section. Emoji, hand of applause or a standing ovation for David. He did a very, very good presentation and gave insightful knowledge. Thank you very much, everyone. Farouk say, please, how do we get the slide? Yeah, if you we'll make this available so that you can download them as we go along. We'll make them available with this video as well. Yes. So let's get your reaction. Okay, Adiola is giving you thumb up. Yeah. Yaya is clapping for you. Thank you so much, Yaya. All right. So because of our time, Adaku, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, Adaku is saying a big thank you there. Thank you very much, Adaku. All right. So we'll go to the segment 2 of this presentation. This will take approximately 15 minutes. Remember that passing the exam. Yeah, David, you can stop sharing your screen.
Stop sharing.
Christiana, okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So Carrie, say a big thank you. So you can stop sharing. Benson, say excellent. Mr. David did excellently well. Well done, sir. Thank you so much for that feedback. All right. So the next segment is about time management in the exam. So why is this very necessary? I will give us the reason why it's very necessary. You see, brilliant students, they fail this exam. And from my own personal experience, and of course, once the exam is over, we get feedback from our students. Some of them used to tell us that, I went into this exam, I don't know what I did, but I passed. Glory be to God. The truth of the matter is that if you submit a blank sheet and you come out of the exam, there's no way you pass. So you must have done some things right. And most of those things are exam tips that you apply. So we're going to run through them so that we joined it what David have done. So I'll be sharing my screen and then, Okay. All right. I've shared my screen. It's coming up. So basically, when you get to the exam hall, make sure you get there early enough. And in fact, if the place is not in the same town where you are, make sure that you move to that town and lodge in a hotel nearby, a guest house nearby. Please avoid taking long transports journey in the day of your exam. So find a way to stay with somebody near the place and so on. So what is on my screen is a warning from ICAN, right? Of course, they give suggested solution in the Pathfinder, and they say, although these suggested solutions have been published under the Institute name, they do not represent the view of the Council of the Institute. The suggested solution are entirely the responsibility of their authors, and the Institute will not enter into any correspondence on them. What the Institute is saying here is that you can't pick their suggested solution. Yeah, that's a disclaimer. You can't pick their suggested solution and come back and say, this is what you gave us. They're not going to entertain that. All right, so the first thing I want to do here is to show us the exam question, the May 2021. So if you have never done CR before, this is what it looks like. So the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria Professional Level Exam May 2021. Of course, if you're going to write the next diet, it's going to be May or November of that year, right? So corporate reporting. Time allowed is 3 hours, 15 minutes. 3 hours, one quarter hours. 1/4 is equivalent to 15 minutes. And the 15 minutes is for reading. So which means it's a 3-hour exam. The 15 minutes that you have extra is for reading. So how do you utilize this time? Now, for corporate reporting, there are 2 sessions. There's a session A and there's a session B. Session A is compulsory, and it carries a 40-mark question, right? So session B are 5 questions, and you are required to answer any 3 out of that. So when you go into the exam hall, the first thing you want to do is to read the instruction very well. This instruction here says you are required to answer 4 out of 6 questions in this paper. 4 out of 6. So including question 1, so there are 6 questions in all. So question 1 is compulsory, but you don't have to start with question 1. So question 1 has 40 marks, and then the other ones, the other 5 questions carries 20 marks each, and you have to pick 3 out of the other section B. All right. So now I just scroll back. Once, what do you do with this 15 minutes reading time that you are given in the exam? So the first thing you do with that is to go read your requirements. So already question 1 is compulsory, so don't waste your time reading it with this 15 minutes, because you are going to come back. So this 15 minutes, you are supposed to use it to read the other section 2 and pick the ones that you want to answer, right? So as you go into section 2, you read it. You don't go reading the body of the question. That's another thing students do wrong. Once they receive their question paper, they start reading all of this. This is a lot to read within 15 minutes. And you find out that before you finish reading the body of the question, 15 minutes is gone. So your 15 minutes, remember, is to read just the requirement. And don't bother reading the requirement of question 1. Don't bother, because why? It's compulsory. So you go to your session 2. This is session 2 that carries 20 marks in and 60 marks in all. You have to answer just 3, right? Now, the requirements say answer 3. Now, there are some sabi too much students. Sabi too much are those who know too much, right? Those who want to score 100%. The questions say answer any 3, but they know all the 5 questions. And so they go and answer the 5. So there's a penalty for that if you do that in the exam. If you answer all the 5 questions instead of 3 in session 2, the examiner will pick out the best 2 that you have and cross it out and cancel it. Why? Because the examiner have given you a choice to choose 3 in this session, right, out of 5. But you decided that you wanted to answer everything. So the examiner will now, that means you are giving the examiner the choice to choose for you the one he should mark. So he's going to strike out the one that you understand, the one that you have best answer in. Now, remember the examiner are marking based on time, and they are paid per script that they are marking. So if you make it easier for the examiner, the better. So the other thing I want to bring out before I continue here is that make sure that you are very legible. So if you've been to the doctor office before, you see the way they write their handwriting. They wrote it in such a way that, let me use the local palace, you won't be able to understand what they are writing. So don't do that in the exam. So those people whose handwriting are not legible, the examiner will not figure out for you what you wrote. Anything he can understand, you have made it easier for him. He will just strike it out and give you 0 and move to the next paper, right? So please take note of that. So before I continue again, I want to also let you know that no one person can make you pass or fail the ICAN exam. No one person can make you pass or fail the exam. So as there are 6 questions in this paper, there are 6 markers, right? One marker marks only one question. So the person that is marking question 1 marks only question 1 all through, if this has not changed, right? The person that marks question 2 marks question 2 all through. The person that marks question 3 marks question 3 all through. So no one marker marks the entire paper. So no one person can make you pass or fail, right? Because only one question is not sufficient to make you pass or fail. All right, so having said that, so your 15-mark question is to read this requirement. So you go through the requirement. Don't bother reading the body of the question, like I said. You just go to 2A and read your requirement. So if you are comfortable with IFRS 8 on operating segments, then you know that, okay, this is a question you would like to give a trial on, right? And this is just 4 marks. All right, the B part has A and B. So this is where you say the question is the major question, then it has children. So the first child here, it says explain how the principle highlighted in A above will apply to a mark A. Second child of the question is going for 4 marks, right? So that takes me now to time allocation, but I'll come back again to that. Then we come to question 3. You are still within your 15-mark question. You see question 3 here is telling you about Shomolu Limited, right? But you don't want to go reading the body of the question like I said earlier on. You go straight to the requirements. So here it's saying carry out a critical analysis of the financial performance and position of Shomolu Limited. So you want to know whether you can do critical analysis of financial performance here. So you want to know that this is going to this has to do with ratios and all the rest. So and comparison and all the rest. So that goes for 14 marks for the A part. Then you want to know that, okay, do I have have I really studied that part of the syllabus to want to answer this? Then you mark it down. Once you know that, you can go for that, right? Then the B part also have its own requirement. It's telling us here that as a financial consultant to Agege PLC, identify and discuss 3 limitations of the financial reporting prepared in accordance with IFRS and the extent to which integrated reporting might improve the usefulness of the annual report. This is a 6-mark question. Now, I want to throw your eyes, I want to draw your attention to something remarkable here. You find out that this B question is not related to this Shomolu Limited. It's not related to the body of the question at all, right? But what I mean by that is that what it's telling you to do here is just, so what it means therefore that is that you can go ahead and answer A part first or B part first. And when we go into how you should label your answer script, I'll go into that in detail. So question 4 here, you see, question 4 has A and then it has children. A number 1, A number 2, and each of them has 4 marks each. And then question 4B goes on to have A and B as well. 4 marks and 6 marks. 6 marks for A and 6 marks for B. And then it also has C. And this C has just 2 marks, even though it has a lot of readings to be done here. So if you read the requirement, you might just see that you already have the knowledge of what it wants you to do here. But remember, this is a 2-mark question. Then I want to draw your attention to that. If the question is just a 2-mark question, then know that you don't need more than half a page max to answer this question. You don't need to write 1 page or 2 pages in answering this question. And this question says advise Cantala Limited on how to measure the fair value of the land in its financial statement. So how to measure the fair value? This way you have to test your knowledge of valuation and all the rest. And you just go there and write some few sentences, right? So question 5 has A, B, and C as well. And as you can see here, A is 7 mark, B is how many marks is for B? 7 mark, but a lot of story in between, right? That will require time to read. So if I am the one, I'm going to give space for this. I'm not going to start reading all of this. I'm going to go into C. C say briefly, prepare a brief note advising on the accounting treatment and disclosure required as a result of the event, and it's a 6-mark question. I would rather go for this because it might be an easy mark. So how do you answer B without, and then go back and answer A later? We're going to go into that because this used to confuse students a lot in the exam. So my time is running out and I'm about rounding up, so bear with me. Question 6 here have a lot of storyline, right? Before we now go to the requirement. But like I said earlier on, always read the requirement first before you go into answering the question. All right, that's how you have to utilize your 15 mark. Now let's go back again to question 1, which actually interested me because it's a 40-mark question. It's very unlikely that you'll pass this exam if you don't attempt question 1, right? But like I said earlier, must you answer question 1 first? The answer is no. You don't have to answer question 1 first. All right, so as I go back again to question 1, I want to do a brief analysis here. So the question 1 has A parts, and as I scroll down, it also has B parts, right? So question 1 has A part and B part. But remember the requirements here, which you must also read when you're about answering it. You don't just go straight and start reading the body of the question. No, always read only the requirement. Here, say prepare a consolidated statement of cash flow for FreeMe Limited Group for the year ended 31st December 2019, in accordance with IS 7 using indirect method, 25 full mark, right? Now, must you answer this A part first? The answer is no. But there are some questions you can't answer the B part if you don't know the A part, right? So if that is the issue, then you have to answer the A part first. If that's not the issue, then you want to go ahead and do what? And answer the B part because it could give you easy mark. This place now is 5 mark here, and the last one here, C, is 10 mark. Okay, so this C here says shows the journal accounting entries to record the above transaction in the book of in Ungono PLC. It's a 10-mark question. Can you answer this C before you come back and answer A and B? The answer is yes. So that takes me now to the exam sheet. All right. So I've just shown on the screen here. This is now your exam sheet is going to look like. This is just to enable us right. Of course, your exam sheets are going to have some markings. I'll show you how it looks like because I have a typical one just by me. Not exactly the exam, but one that looks like it, right? A stationery that looks like it. And like I said earlier on, must you answer question 1 first? The answer is no. You can start with question 3 if that's the one you find very, very easy. Start with the one you find easy to answer. Don't start with the one that will require more time and that will take a lot of time. No, don't do that. So now, see the way I've numbered my sheet here. So when you want to start with question 3, let me go back to question 3 and show us my screen. My screen will come up now for question 3. I just want to show us something there for question 3. Where are you? Question 3, my time is going. Question 3, yeah, this is question 3. So as we go down here, remember we're not solving this question. I just go to the body of the question. It has 2 requirements here. The first one is A, the second one is B, right? So the A part is 14 marks, right? And the B part is 6 marks. So now I've shown you that, right? So let me go back to my answer sheet. No, this is not my answer sheet. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is my answer sheet. So you see here, I have here A, 3A. So that's how you should label your answer sheet if you are starting with this. Then the next sheet here, right, should be 3A continue. Because why? Once you are writing and you get to this point, right, you go to the next, you get to this point here where I'm putting some mark here, right? You go to the next one and put A continue if you are to continue that part A. Now, if you write and you stop somewhere here, right, don't start 3B here, please. Don't. Go and open a new sheet and start 3B. Why should you do that, right? If while you are going on, you might have more points later that you want to add to 3A. If you start 3B here, right, there won't be any place to write here because you have already started 3B here. Students fail exams because of this. Because you see, when you have more points to write for your 3A, some of them will come back and cancel what they have written in 3B and go and be rewriting it in a new page. So don't do that mistake when you are in the exam hall. All right. So I'm going to clean this. Remember that each session must start on a new sheet, right? So remember you are paid for the exam. So don't try and economize the sheet of paper for the examiner, right? Please don't do that. Remember that if you need an extra sheet, you can ask for that. So this is 3A continue. So you start on a new sheet again for 3B. And then the next one will be 3B continue, right? You go to the, let's assume that you wanted to do 3C. That's what you wanted to start with. So you come to 3C and you start here, right? You now put here, if you start here and then you start writing, right? If you finish that, you can come down here and start your 3C, the second child of the question. You can start here. Then you go ahead and put 3C continue here in case you still need space. All right. And you should make sure that you start a new question on a new sheet. This is 3G, for instance. Then 3D continue. Then remember, I've just finished 3. You don't have to go to question 4. If question 5 is the one you know, you go to question 5 and you start working on that, just the same way you see it on the screen here. 5A continue, 5B, 5B continue, 5C, 5C continue, 5G, 5D continue. If there is up to 5G, and then you go to question 4, if question 4 is the next one you want to do. All right, on my question 4, that takes me to time management now, right? Right, time management. Now, in the exam, remember that you have 3 hours and 15 minutes. 3 hours is what you are given here. And if we multiply 3 hours by 60 minutes, we have 180 minutes. So what that means is that if we divide 180 minutes by 100 marks, we'll have 1.8 minutes, which means for every 10 mark, right? For every 10 mark that we have, you must not spend more than 18 minutes for every 10 mark. So any question you are solving and you have exceeded the time you have allocated, stop. Because the concept of diminishing returns starts setting in. The more time you spend, the lesser the mark you can extract from that question. So it's better to go to a new question that you have not started at all and start that. Because at the beginning of the question, when you are writing, that's when you can earn your highest number of mark. All right. Having said that, remember that we just need to explain this here and so on. Then let me go back to the question again. So question 1 is 40 marks, right? What's the number of minutes you must spend here? So if I bring out my calculator, you spend 1.1 minutes, 1.8 minutes per mark. So 1.8 times 40 will give us 72 minutes. 72 minutes is the maximum you must spend in question 1. If you are doing question 1, 72 minutes is the maximum you must spend there. And how should this question be, how should it be broken down? How should it be broken down, this question? Now let's go down. So remember that this question has children, right? It has A and it has B. The A part is 25 marks. So how long should you spend there? 1.8 minutes times 25. That gives us 45 minutes. You must not spend more than 45 minutes for the A part. So we go back to the B part. The B part is 5 mark. So 1.8 minutes times 5 gives us 9. So if we add 9 plus 45, that should give us 54. Then we come back to the last part of the question, which is 10 mark, right? 10 mark here. So you must not spend more than 18 minutes for this 10 mark. So if we add 18 minutes to that, 18, that's 27 plus, how many mark for the 40? 40 times 1.8 will give us 72. So the 72 minutes, you break them into the various mark that is given here. The same thing goes for every other one you see here. So this 4-mark question, you should not spend more than 1.8 minutes times 4, which is, wow, that's just 7 minutes and 7.2 minutes. You must not spend more than 7.2 minutes to answer that 4-mark question. All right, let me just run through my notes and bring up some other things that I've noted down here. Then the questions say answer 4. You must attempt at least 4 questions. Why must you do that? So even when you are moving on, right, the last question, you don't have much time. Make sure you go to the plain sheet of paper, your plain sheet, and write down and make sure you write down I'm going to assume that, just a moment, continue next page. Yeah, let me assume that I'm going to answer question 6 here and my time has run out. So make sure you write 6 here and then come here and put here A, right? Remember this is 6A, and then make sure you write what or describe or any other information here. If time has run out, right? Make sure you at least write something on this page. By this, it means that you have attempted this question. By this attempt, it means you have attempted this question. Before we close, I'll give you a story that illustrates why you must do this, why you must attempt the question, the number of questions you are asked to attempt. One of the lecturers told me that he had from the examiner, right? That there was this marker that was marking a particular question. Remember that I told you that each marker marked only one question. So this marker has finished marking his own script. Then he decided to join others, right? So then when he joined them, he now picked the question and tried to solve it to get the answer. When he got the answer, he compared it with the marking scheme. And please, there's a disclaimer on what I'm saying, right? There's a disclaimer. This is what I had. But like we know, the examiners are not God. Anything that a human being does has the elements of error here and there. So ICAN also is not perfect, right? But this is what I had. It might be a rumor, or please don't quote me anywhere, please. I'm just letting us know some of the dynamics that go beyond the fact that you are well prepared for the exam. So that's what I'm bringing out here. And this thing I'm telling you, remember I qualified in 1997. So this thing I'm telling you is more than 2 decades ago. So, all right. So and this is what my lecturer told us then in class. He said, yeah, his friend who is a marker told him this. So he went ahead, when he finished marking his own script, he now went ahead to join others, but he decided to solve the question and come out with his own answer. When he came out with his own answer, he compared it with the marking scheme and found out that they were different. And so he called the attention of his colleague and they checked it again and they found out that his new answer was right. The marking scheme was wrong, right? That's what they found. But they have already marked 2,000 script plus. And remember the ICAN must release their results at a given time. And so they looked at this and said, what are we going to do about this? All right, they came up with a decision and said, okay, everybody who attempted that question, give them full mark. And then going forward, right, every other person that attempted it also, right, give them full mark. Because when they found out that the question itself have error or the marking scheme is wrong or whatever, that's the decision they made. So if they have marked your own already, they've already marked your own and you attempted it, you have full mark, whether your answer was right or wrong. So that's the part where I'm saying attempt it. Like I said, please don't quote me. We're not trying to batch ICAN here. No. But like I told us, no system is perfect. If you have gone to the bank before, they have debited you in error or credited you in error. They are human beings behind all this system. So I hope that is clear. All right. Having said that, I will stop sharing my screen and come back here to see. David, are you there? Are you there so that I will know? Okay, I think I can see you. Yeah.
I'm still on, sir.
All right, that's
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Thank you. So you might still share
I
your
was
screen again.
enjoying your presentation.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
thank you very much. So please let me know in the
Yes,
comment box if you enjoy what we have done. We are rounding up now. Please share your screen and let's go to the last part of this presentation, which will wrap up in 1 minute's time. 1 minute, we are done. All right. So we've talked about maximizing your mark here. So in maximizing your mark, remember those marks that are 3 mark, 5 mark are called easy marks,
exactly.
right? So make sure you don't leave them out. And like I have illustrated earlier, you can go for those easy mark by going for that. All right, please stop sharing your screen. Let me quickly explain this before I go. Stop sharing your screen first so that
Okay,
they can
sir.
see my own screen. Okay, now this is how the exam paper looks like. Usually there's a margin. The examiner will say you shouldn't write beyond this margin. Please obey. Don't write beyond the margin in the exam. Then you see here I put 4A, right? And then here I put 4A continue, right? The reason why that is that if I am now writing 4A and I still need to continue here, right? Remember, I've already labeled my question as 4B here, right? And I'm now writing my 4A, and these two sheets, front and back, I've already written them, and I still need to write more. Then you can ask for extra sheet. If you ask for extra sheet, just a moment. So if you ask for extra sheet, this is a plain extra sheet that I have here. You can now label it as 4A continue again, and you tie it to your 4A, right? So that when you are arranging your answer sheet at the end of the day, you arrange them to make sure that they follow each other. Make sure that 4A is not in the middle, and 4A continue is at the end of the sheet. No, the examiner will not be looking for it for you. Make sure you arrange them as they should follow each other. Okay, I haven't said that. So you can go back and please share your screen again, and let's wrap up. So what material should you use when you are preparing for this exam? Yeah, remember about 10 years ago, we used to run physical classes, but we eventually collapsed it and start running only digital classes, right? And why was that? We realized that our students that come for the digital classes were passing their exam more than those who come for physical class. We're not trying to bash physical classes here. They are good, but these are the limitations that we observe. If you miss a physical class, the lecturer is not going to repeat the class for you again. And then you won't be able to ask questions if you miss that class. But we realized that when we recorded the video, you don't have to miss any class. You can go with your class anywhere. So those who travel, whether you're in the hotel or wherever you are, or you're on the journey, you can use your Android phone, you can use your tablet computer anywhere, right? We found out that when the results are released and we contact our students, those who use the video lecture were more successful. And because you can go through it over and over and over and over again. So if you don't already have a video lecture, the number on the screens are there for you to call, for you to text, for you to WhatsApp, and then our team will definitely get back to you. So if you have not gotten it, make sure you get it. And if you're already attending physical classes, it is also there. It's also, you can use it as a supplement, right? Emmanuel say he's not hearing me again. If you are not hearing me, just recap. Just refresh your browser, right? So if you don't have the video lecture, just call the number on the screen or send WhatsApp. If you call and we're not picking, maybe you are calling over the weekend, we'll definitely return your call during work hours. If you have WhatsApp, we have not responded, we'll definitely respond. All right. So on that note, I want to bring this to a close. I want to thank you very much, all the people who have made the time to attend. And I want to thank you, David, for your time and the insight you have shared. All right. If you have other questions, make sure you join us in our Telegram class, and we'll definitely be there to help. All right, David, I don't know if you have any final say to tell our people before we zoom off.
All I just want to say is I want to advise them to go with all what we have done today, and they should do their best. By God's grace, everything will come. So we have just maybe, let me say, less than 6 weeks to the exams. So let's just hope for the best.
Yes, depending on when you are viewing this, less than 6 weeks to the exam. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Ifeanyi is asking for the link to the CR class. Okay. That will be provided. That will be sent since you register for this. We'll send it to your email and so on. All right. Thank you, everyone, and God bless you. So if you still hang on, Ifeanyi will also post it to this place once we are gone now. Thank you, everyone, and bye. Take care.